Yes. Although, if today you have been celebrating Vaisakhi, then you will be covered in the colours of orange and royal blue. So firstly, we must start off by saying today, of course, marks the Sikh festival of Vaisakhi. So very happy Vaisakhi to you if you are celebrating. Now, there are over 150,000 Sikhs in the capital who are celebrating the birth of the Khalsa.
And we've taken 2 of them out of that celebration.
We have.
So thank them.
So they've come especially to join us today, initiated by Guru Gobind Singh Ji in 1699. But this year has been very poignant for another reason as well, it must be said. Now, this year also marks 100 years since the Amritsar Massacre, in which thousands of Punjabis were celebrating the festival in Jallianwala Bagh, and they were shot and killed by the Indian British Army. Now, if you go to the BBC website, then you can actually get full details of the exact encounter and what happened. The Central Gurdwara in London marked the anniversary by releasing thousands of balloons in honour of the victims, which was attended by Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. And before we introduce both of our guests, who are not only going to talk to us about the poignancy, the importance of Vaisakhi, but also this year being the 100th year since the Amritsar Massacre, we wanted to take a moment because last week, Sunny and I, we interviewed Amandeep Mandra and Paramjit Singh, who were authors of Eyewitness at Amritsar, a visual history of the 1919 Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. Now, the book contains first-hand experiences of what exactly took place on the fateful day of the Amritsar Massacre. Paramjit Singh read an account from missionary Charles Freer Andrews, who spoke about what he saw in the aftermath of the atrocity.
I could not sleep or eat or even speak to anyone after what I saw. I wanted to go apart and be alone. It was a massacre, a butchery. I feel that if only I could take each single Englishman and show him out of my eyes what I have seen, he would feel the same as I.
Now, for a lot of individuals, in fact, we were talking about this last night on BBC Radio London, people aren't necessarily fully aware of the Amritsar Massacre and the fact that it is part of British history as well as, of course, Indian history. Well, joining us in the studio tonight to celebrate Vaisakhi, for sure, that is so very important, but also to mark and talk about 100 years since the Amritsar Massacre. We're joined by Amandeep Singh. He's a friend to the show. He is a Sikh educator and lawyer. We're also joined in the studio by Gurpreet Singh Anand, who is a managing trustee at the Central Gurdwara in London. Happy Vaisakhi,
Happy
guys.
Vaisakhi.
Thank you for joining us. I feel it's only right, before we delve into what Vaisakhi means, Amandeep, we've got to ask you firstly, Gurpreet. Today, Mayor Sadiq Khan did attend the Gurdwara, where you marked the anniversary by releasing thousands of balloons in honour of the victims. Why was it important for you, for the Gurdwara here in London, to mark this and to ensure actually that the Mayor of London attended and was there as well?
Well, for us, we're a historic Gurdwara, and we actually have links to Shaheed Udham Singh. Now, you would know his links to Jallianwala Bagh. He was a teenager when the massacre happened. When he was there and there were bodies over him, and a curfew was called, and he would hear the sounds of people dying around him. What were wails when eventually stopped and the sound ceased of people screaming, and they passed away around him. And when he was able to get up and leave there, he took some of the dirt, the blood-stained dirt off the ground, rubbed it on his forehead and swore to get revenge for this, to get those who were responsible. And he was part of the Sangat at the Central Gurdwara London, and indeed he did exact his revenge by assassinating the Lieutenant General of Punjab, who was involved in giving the order for this massacre. That was Michael O'Dwyer. He wasn't the general who was there on the day, but he was the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, and who was famous for saying that he never lost a day's sleep over this massacre, and he supported it. And so Shaheed Udham Singh.
It was that massacre in what happened, the way it was reported here, in the United Kingdom was a success for the British, wasn't it? And General Dyer was looked upon as a hero to bring down the rebellion or the unrest within India at that time.
Correct. The media, the Times newspaper, and the media actually raised money for him.
Yeah,
and
to live his rest of his life out,
yes.
with something like £26,000 was raised by his individuals, but it was 5,000 rupees, wasn't it? That was given to the victims of this massacre.
Yeah.
Something that I find really interesting as well, we had the 9th Asian Awards, which took place on Friday, and the Founders Award this year went to, or rather than the award, but it was a marking and a recognition and a remembering of the victims of the Jallianwala Bagh, and it was a historic moment because the nephew of Shaheed Bhagat Singh attended and accepted the award. But my question to you, I have to say, actually, Gurpreet, is as much as, there's talk about this particular massacre, and you can see on the social media so many people are saying, well, how do we not know about this? We know that Winston Churchill, aired his views. We know that the Germans and the French condemned what took place. What happens next from your perspective as a historic Gurdwara here within London? Yes, you've marked the day today, but would you like to see further things? Of course, we've already seen Jeremy Corbyn has remarked the fact that, Theresa May fell short of an apology. Just some thoughts from your perspective as the Gurdwara.
Can we just do that after the travel? Because I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let's quickly go to Fiona and find out what's happening on the roads of London. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank you, Fiona. Now, we've been having a chat tonight. We are joining the studio. We have Amandeep Singh, Sikh educator and lawyer, and Gurpreet Singh Anand, managing trustee at the Central Gurdwara in London. We have been talking about the Sikh festival of Vaisakhi. So firstly, a very happy Vaisakhi. But also this year marks 100 years since the Amritsar Massacre, in which thousands of Punjabis were celebrating the festival in Jallianwala Bagh. Important to note, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu alike, from all different communities.
Just to paint a picture, at that time in Amritsar, the Sikh population was probably about 20%. And it was mostly made up of Muslims and Hindus at the time who were fighting for the same cause, independence, and just more rights to just walk around as Hindustanis.
Now, they were shot and killed by the Indian British Army, and we were just asking the question from Gurpreet because of today, the Central Gurdwara has marked the anniversary by releasing thousands of balloons in honour of the victims, attended by Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. What are the hopes for the future? As I mentioned earlier, Jeremy Corbyn has called out Theresa May for not marking an apology. Back in 2013, David Cameron attended and went to Jallianwala Bagh. He himself fell short of an apology on behalf of the British government. So what's your perspectives just on that point?
It requires an apology. Indeed, Sadiq Khan also asked for one today. The reason it requires an apology is that this is blatant racist colonialism that went on. There were streets in Amritsar where if you were brown, you had to crawl across, and where that's just pure racism. You just cannot deal with that sort of racism it's not such past history, it's only 100 years old. You cannot deal with that just by merely expressing regret. That requires an apology to say that, hey, we actually recognize that was wrong and we are apologizing and we are moving on because our society is different now. Definitely. If it's not different, then
it ties in with our conversation. We were just joined in the studio by Kash Siddiqui. He's trying to raise awareness about breaking down barriers in terms of racism within football. And here we are talking about a racist event that took 100 years ago. And yet what you're saying is actually racism is still prevalent, but we're seeing it in different ways. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, because if events in Ireland, which were more recent, got apologies, why is this one falling short of an apology? What's the difference? It's
going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming months. But Amandeep, you're here tonight as well to kind of mark Vaisakhi, in terms of the religious Sikh festival. Before we find out the meaning of Vaisakhi, what's your perspective? You've come on the show before. You're a proud Londoner, but you yourself are a turban-wearing Sikh, a practicing Sikh. So with Gurdwaras like the Central Gurdwara marking the anniversary of Amritsar Massacre, has that been important for you to see that taking place here in London?
I think tremendously important. So firstly, thanks for having us on the show. It's an honour and privilege to be here, so thank you for that. I think it's important that we learn from our mistakes, and lest we forget, it's impossible to learn. So it's really important, and it's a shortcoming that the government hasn't come forward with an apology. I think that on trying to look at it from a positive aspect, the world knows that an apology is due. And so the lesson is that was wrong. The words of an apology mean that the government stamp it as such, but insofar as the world recognise that this is a shortcoming, in essence, that message is there for the world to know. So that everybody knows, you know what I mean?
So it's got more people, the fact that there isn't an apology has got more people talking, is what you're saying.
So now
I'm not
it's
saying
even
it's a good
worse
thing, to be clear, but the fact that everybody knows that there wasn't an apology where it was due, in essence, marks the fact that this is wrong. And it's not about the apology, it's about the fact that this is wrong. So in that sense, trying to look at it from an opportunity, from the proper point is that we should learn from our mistakes. And that we shouldn't forget. And I think that it's commendable that the Gurdwara, on a day such as today, which is very, very busy. I came from the temple into the Gurdwara in Goodmays. We had tens of thousands of people there. My brother was telling me that it was really busy, but they didn't shirk on their principles. Their principles, hey, we need to remember those that made those sacrifices, and I really respect that.
Can I also ask you, I mean, when we mark this day of Vaisakhi, it's not the Sikh New Year. That was a couple of weeks ago. We found out recently, right? And Vaisakhi was the birth of the Khalsa.
Yeah.
Now, please tell me the difference, and why was it important for this date? And why did we need to have the birth of the Khalsa?
Fantastic. So look, to understand the birth of the Khalsa in 1699, we have to go back sort of 25 years earlier to 1675. Around that time, it was the time of the 9th Guru, and in essence, the Indian subcontinent was being invaded by the Mughals, and they were bringing their own religion, the Islamic faith, and they were forcing everybody to convert to Islam. So Muslims and Hindus alike were being persecuted because of their beliefs. And there was an area in India where there were 5,000 Hindus, to give an example, the Kashmiri Pandits so-called, and they were told that if they don't convert to Islam, that they're going to face the sword, basically. They're going to lose their heads. And so those Hindus, they came to the house of the 9th Guru and said, will you stand for us? Will you stand for our right to be free? Cutting the story really, really short because of time constraints. In essence, the 9th Guru of the Sikhs stands with his Hindu brothers and those Hindu disciples, and they march upon the Mughal Parliament and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You're forcing people to convert their faith is wrong.
And when they were marching, did he march to Delhi, or where was he going to?
To a place called Chandni Chowk. So when I say marched, the Guru took with him 5 Sikhs.
Okay.
So it was a poignant stand of righteousness to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And they were met with 10,000 soldiers. They were arrested. They were tortured for many days. They were told to give up their faith. And they said, no, we stand for the rights of everybody to be free. And if you can convert me from my faith, then these Hindus will convert from their faith. But we're going to stand for people's right to be free. The human rights were being protected by the Guru, if you like. The Guru and his disciples all were martyred in 1675. And when they were martyred, there were people that were in the gallery that were Sikhs, if you like. And the executioners were told to call out, are there any other Sikhs among you to stand forward now? And nobody came forward. When the Guru was beheaded, the head of the Guru was taken to the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, who we celebrate with Vaisakhi.
Yes.
And he asked a question. He goes, my father, the Guru before me, and those disciples, they gave their lives in defense of people's rights to be free. But did anybody stand up for them?
Right.
And everybody put their heads down. They said there were Sikhs there, but nobody could be recognized. And that was the point when the Guru prophesied that, no, I'm going to give my Sikhs such an identity that they will be recognized across the entire world. They'll take on such an appearance that you could put a Sikh in a group room in a crowd of thousands. And if he claims to be a Sikh of the Guru, if he takes that oath to stand for righteousness, that he will always be recognized. And so it was that the Guru in 1699, that same Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, almost 25 years later, he brought all of the Sikhs together at Anandpur Sahib and said, I'm going to give you 5 gifts. The gifts of uncut hair, the iron bracelet, the sword which we wear on our hip, which is for the protection of people's freedoms, and the uniform, the Sikh uniform, and of course the comb for hygiene. But the gift of uncut hair was given to us so that those Sikhs, those people that claim to be a Sikh of the Guru, who take that oath to stand to serve, they will always be recognised. So on this day in Vaisakhi, we celebrate the birth of the physical form of the Khalsa, of the military spiritual tradition where we stand up for people's rights to be free and are always recognised.
So something I've got to ask you then is, because both of you are turban wearing Sikhs, as soon as we see you we can tell you have different styles, but they both look great in your turbans. Sunny and I, we both are Sikh. However, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. Sunny has cut hair, as do I. And it's important that I ask this question on Vaisakhi, actually, Gurpreet. And you're representative of one Gurdwara, but we have so many Gurdwara here in London and across the country, that although there are Sikhs who are practicing, there are baptised Sikhs and non-baptised Sikhs, but everyone does come together on a day like Vaisakhi, do they not, to celebrate Vaisakhi? Because although, yes, it's the birth of the Khalsa, it's just as poignant for me, although I have not taken Amrit or I've not been fully baptised. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think it's important to stress that for people who get confused by people who wear turbans and those that don't.
That's correct. You get both Sikhs who are initiated, who are Khalsa coming together, and those who aren't, because everyone respects the Guru and everyone wants to celebrate that institution that was created that day of Khalsa. Becoming a Khalsa is a journey. It's not something that you automatically end on. It's something which you have to get to, and that doesn't mean that you cut out everyone who's not reached that path. You know, it's a journey that you get to on your life. For me, it took, I think it was when I was 25.
Right.
But you know, for others start earlier. So it's a journey, and it's not one that you then suddenly say, well, if someone hasn't done that, therefore they're excluded. No, everyone's included, because that's part of Sikhism, is everyone's on the path.
So with that, when did that happen for you, Amandeep?
Yeah,
when
I was
did
at university.
How old were you at university?
I was sort of 20 years old. And I heard that story, which I just told you.
Yes.
We'd grown up working in a video shop, watching movies like Braveheart.
Yeah,
and
Bruce Lee.
and
Let's not forget
Enter
Bruce
the Dragon.
Lee.
You know, these
Dragon.
great movies of courage and valor.
Yeah.
But these are all fiction stories. They're made to inspire, to an extent. Obviously, the Scottish history is somewhat recorded, but to some extent,
I
a lot of
agree.
the stories that we watch are. And I was thinking, hang about, this is our history.
Yeah.
And I'm going to a shop to pay someone to cut my hair, to remove my identity. And there are those that have given their lives for the freedoms, not just of the Sikhs, but the freedoms of others.
See, I see that amazing. What you just said there, I see that the choice, the freedom to make a choice.
Yes.
And that's what I love. That, you know, when the other people came into a space and said, well, you won't be able to, you will have to cut your hair, or you will have to grow your hair. Here was individuals who came and said, no, they have the right to cut or not cut their hair. And that's what I love, for that reason, that,
Well,
you know, that was the important thing. Freedom and the freedom of choice.
If you look in history, there are many that are willing to die for their beliefs.
Yes.
But only one example that comes to mind when you see of a person who's willing to give his life for the rights of others to choose their beliefs.
Yes.
And that is that is the foundation of democracy. If you look at, for example, the British value system is founded on the notion of democracy. Yeah. But the notion of democracy is the right to be free to choose. And how many people in democracy are willing to give their life for the rights of other people who might have opposing beliefs, their rights to choose? And that is what the Guru did. And that's what inspired me to think, whoa, this is something beautiful, something magical. If I could be a part of this, I'd be blessed.
You know what, if we could only, you know, see that we can all talk from the centre, it would be always brilliant. But if you look, you know, you've got the far left and the far right, and then you've got socialism, then you've got conservatism, and you've got all these isms in the world at the moment.
But it's always really, it's interesting though, because there was one part I just quickly wanted to mention before we go to travel, which is the other question that often we get asked. Sunny always calls people princess, don't you?
I do.
And people often don't know the reason why. We're often on air, we've had people say, oh, hold on, why are you saying princess?
They like it, but they don't know why I keep calling everyone princess.
Now, obviously, for anyone, and this is important again, you do not have to be baptised to have Singh in your name or Kaur in your name. If you are from the Sikh faith, so for example, our daughter has been born and her middle name is Kaur, which means princess, and Singh, which means lion. Do you find empowerment from that? The fact that, you know, our middle names have this meaning that you know straight away when you see it that they're part of the faith, but also it's empowering for others as well.
It is definitely the case. We want to put our children on the journey, and we want to set them on the right path. My daughter's most definitely a Kaur, a feisty feminist, and
Love
you know,
that.
who's templated me as papa misogynist, you know, and every debate about male misogyny has to involve me, and so no car journey is without a bit of good discussion. And
Yeah. You know what? Time to listen to BBC Radio London. We can find the middle ground somewhere.
We're going to get your final thoughts as well, because we want to find out about the rest of the celebrations that are taking place, and also what the Gurdwara is going to be doing in coming months as well. So stay with us.
It's Sunny and Shay. We've got a lot to talk about in this hour. If you're looking for some entertainment, we've got theatre and film. And also, if you are wanting to, join in the conversation, you've heard something in the last half an hour and you want to comment on it, please feel free to give us a ring or text us 81333. Start your message with London and Shay will read them out.
Absolutely. Now, it's we've asked our guests, they've kindly, can we just say this? So let's put this into context here. Christmas is massive in our household, right? Because all the family gets together, whether we have family members who are Christian and non-Christian, but it's an amazing opportunity for all the family to come together, to give gifts to each other, to celebrate that time of year. So if you're tuning in, and I just want to paint that picture for someone who doesn't know what Vaisakhi is about, for anyone who is religious or culturally Punjabi, let's be very,
month of Vaisakh.
Absolutely. That's very poignant about that. This particular month, the month of Vaisakh, for anyone who is culturally Punjabi as well, they will be celebrating Vaisakhi. And it's like Christmas in the sense of the family gets together. Yeah. You really, I every year since I've been a girl, always have a brand new Punjabi suit, and I was very happy with my outfit this year. So did my daughter. I always go to the Gurdwara, but that's the whole point of Vaisakhi, is about being with family. So I really have to say a big thank you to Amandeep Singh and also to Gurpreet Singh Anand, because it's like they've left everyone to come on the radio.
I know, and their family are listening just to make sure that they're here.
That they're here and they haven't gone somewhere else.
Are you sure they're
here? Yeah. So thank you for that, guys.
So they are here, family.
But if you're just tuning in, we've been speaking to Amandeep Singh, who is a Sikh educator and lawyer, and also to Gurpreet Singh Anand, who is managing trustee at the Central Gurdwara in London, really trying to get more of an understanding of why Vaisakhi is celebrated the way that it is, and especially here within London.
Now, can I ask you, Amandeep, people might be listening to this and think, I didn't know that much about the Sikh faith, and you're someone who's an educator as well, and also alongside that, there's so much charitable work that happens from the Sikh community, which never gets spotlighted or talked about because
they're too busy doing it.
Yeah,
and they say, listen, we don't advertise, we just do. That's our job. This is not something that we need to talk about. So can you please just highlight some of the work that's been going on and organisations that are out there, and also if anybody wants to find out more about the faith?
Okay, just summarising very quickly, I'll start with the biggest and the best. The biggest kitchen in the world, in the entire world, outside of BBC London, the biggest kitchen in the world is the kitchen of Guru Ram Das, which is in Amritsar. They're feeding 100,000 people there a day. They're dropping 100,000 meals a day. They go sleep, they wake up, they do it all over again. It's not just for Vaisakhi, it's every single day. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, doesn't matter who you are. If you're ever going to go to India, go to Northern Punjab, check out the Golden Temple, the house of Guru Ram Das, and get some wonderful food for your soul as well as your stomach. Locally, if I want to shout out to the guys in London town right now that aren't listening because they're too busy feeding the people in central London, if you go check out SWAT, that's SWAT London, that's a Sikh Welfare Awareness Team. They're dropping about 3,000 meals a week outside of the Zimbabwean embassy, outside Charing Cross police station, I can say. They're dropping about 2,800 to 3,000 meals a week for free to all people. They're there most days of the week. If you guys want to drop by them and say hello there. Right now, if I'm correct, they're probably just getting their bags together and they're getting the pizzas and they're getting all those boxes out. So that's amazing. If you want to learn more about the philosophy behind the free services, we've started a philosophy class in East London. That's the better part of London, if I can say.
Bless
and
you.
That's
it depends on what part of London you're from, though.
When is that, though?
So that's every Thursday at 7 p.m. in Sing Saba, London East in Goodmays. It's wonderful getting a massive turnout there. And again, we've got the free kitchen there, which is every single day. So you can come by, again, get food for your soul, knowledge about life and what we're really here to do. We're only ever alive when we're progressing and when we are contributing towards other people's welfare.
And also, there's a big celebration as well that's taking place, isn't there, for anyone who has never had the opportunity to celebrate Vaisakhi. And that's going to be, and it's annually, we must say, this happens every year, and that's going to be in Trafalgar Square, isn't it?
Yeah. So if anybody wants to come along and get involved and just try some wonderful food with some turmeric in it and some haldi and some beautiful spices, you can come to Trafalgar Square on the 27th of April. There's going to be about 15,000 people there, and they're all going to be fighting to just serve and spread love and happiness. There's a secret ingredient in the food that will be given out on that day, and you won't be able to buy it at any shop. It's love and compassion.
Nice.
And you'll see people from all different faiths coming together and celebrating Vaisakhi. So a shout out to all my London brothers and sisters. Come to Trafalgar Square on the 27th of April and let's all break bread together and be one.
Now, alongside that as well, we've got to find out from yourself, Gurpreet, what the Central Gurdwara in London is doing over the coming months. Because, you know, for a lot of Punjabis, and in fact, Gopal was telling us earlier, his parents were married at the Central Gurdwara. You know, this Gurdwara is so historic. It was the first in the country. And of course, we all have affiliations to many temples. But there is something very special about this Gurdwara and the fact that people always remember it for being the first. So what are you hoping and planning to do in the coming months?
Well, coming up with Trafalgar Square, we're going to be working on the Friday night before the Saturday 27th of April. We're going to be making 10,000 rotis.
Wow. 10,000 chapatis or rotis, as we say.
Yes,
amazing.
We even had the Mayor Sadiq Khan down today, and he was having a go at making rotis, and we showed him.
Did he slow you down?
No, he did quite well. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He got good kudos. It was quite palatable too. So we even showed him a picture of Shaheed Udham Singh making rotis, and he goes, "Oh wow, I did better. I made it a lot more rounder."
For the record, I don't think he did better. But
But listen, you haven't eaten Udham Singh's roti, have you? So we can't compare.
True. We can't compare. But I guess we can be biased.
Yes,
on
we
that
can
much.
be biased.
So the tip we gave him was, it's just like rowing. You just got to, back and forth.
But he's not a rower. His dad was a bus driver. So if you say he's more like, I don't know, what do you do? Oh, turning the wheel with one hand.
Yeah, of a bus. I like that.
Everyone's open to new skills.
Of course they are.
And in the coming months, again, the Central Gurdwara London, we're a pretty unique Gurdwara that we're constantly trying to push ahead on how we do things, that we realise we're not the same as every other Gurdwara. We're based in central London. We don't have hundreds of people living around us. We got to do things differently. So we are, again, working to build activities for the
Well, you know what? Listen,
and
I don't want to rush you now,
Sure.
but can you come in and tell us about these activities during the week? We don't have to wait until Vaisakhi.
Definitely.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's not wait another 365 days. Look, Amandeep and Gurpreet, we've taken enough of your time away from your families. So firstly, a very happy Vaisakhi to you both.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much for joining us. Now, we're going to take a picture with the guys. We'll post that up on BBC Radio London Instagram as well. So thanks for joining us today, guys.
have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Happy Vaisakhi.
Happy
Thank you.